There are about 200 families who live in this makeshift camp, which is less than 2 miles from the Syrian border, and this is just one of hundreds of camps across Lebanon. A wall of water came rushing down here, carrying everything in its way, including this giant bus. Now, as you can see behind me, rescuers have been working around the clock, frantically searching for the hundreds that are still missing. President Bush really was known for his foreign policy decisions during his presidency. They defined him, as a matter of fact. And one thing that was very important to him was seeing the Berlin Wall come down. Walk me through what's going to happen.
I'm going to bury you in there.
Literally.
Literally. We've got to find somebody.
Hopefully she comes soon. Yay, Tally! Good job! Woohoo! 70,000 people are being evacuated from those communities, but all across the island, it's becoming an incredibly desperate situation. I personally have received hundreds of emails and text messages and tweets from people asking me to go and check on loved ones in these various communities because there really is very little communication with certain parts of the island. Dozens of police officers and their families rode out the hurricane in this room at the police department. And looking at the damage to this building, it's amazing that they all survived. We've seen a few people out here probably stretching their legs before they're cooped up for days with this hurricane. You can see that storm shutters are already in place. Take a look here. The amount of water that has been coming through and the power of this water, it's actually turned this road into a river.
Tammy, is it true that we're not sure if it's a boy or a girl?
That's right, Lewis. It's a big secret. Nobody knows at this point. Hey, guys, this is definitely not what anyone was expecting and not what the bookies were predicting. 4 days after this little guy came into the world, a very official grown-up name, Louis Arthur Charles.
We have seen reports here on the mainland. There are Puerto Ricans who have yet to have been discovered by relief crews. There are Puerto Ricans who have yet to been able to find out about their loved ones, if they're alive or dead. There are Puerto Ricans going to bed hungry and thirsty and with medical emergencies that have not near been attended to. Any or all of that true?
Everything that you just said, Brian, is true. I can tell you that I personally have received hundreds of emails and text messages and tweets from people asking me to go and check on loved ones in these various communities because there really is very little communication with certain parts of the island. We've been to many communities across the island, and I can tell you it's just utter devastation. We went to the Villa Palmeras neighborhood, and entire blocks of houses gone, just blown over. We were in Utuado, which is about 90 minutes outside of San Juan. The main bridge was washed away, and people were getting across the river by using a rope. They were also handing food across, stringing it across on this rope to people that could not cross the river themselves. We've been to Toa Baja, which is covered in several feet of mud. All of these communities that I've just mentioned, these are communities where they are still making rescues. Up until the last 24 hours, we've been talking with rescuers. They're still out there. They're still trying to make their way to some of these very remote areas, Brian, where they still don't know if people need medical help, assistance, or to be rescued. Brian, this is what I can tell you what we've seen. We've been out with the Marines. We've been out with the National Guard, and we've seen them fly in supplies to various communities. But what they're doing is they're flying in the supplies and they're dropping them off and then they're leaving. And so what's happening is these supplies are not getting distributed to some of the more remote areas. Some of these places, the roads are still washed away. People have no communication. They don't know what's going on. There's a large part of this island that have no idea that the president visited today because they have no TVs, no power to watch TVs, no cell phone communication. They are essentially still cut off from the rest of the world. The people that we've spoken with, they're saying that if things don't turn around and change within a month, within 2 months, they will leave. I mean, we're talking about people that are not able to go to work. because they can't put gas in their car, because they can't put food on their table. There are people that are driving in from communities that are 2 hours outside of San Juan because they don't have a grocery store in their community. So they come here to San Juan to go to the grocery store to buy 1 day's worth of food because they don't have refrigerators, they don't have stoves, they don't have any power in their homes. And the grocery stores, Brian, the shelves are bare. They don't have refrigerated items in a lot of these grocery stores still. And I can tell you, we were at the port just yesterday, and they had 3,500 refrigerated containers sitting there full of food, water, and medicine. Now, these are not FEMA supplies. These are supplies that are supposed to be going to restaurants, grocery stores, businesses across the island, and they're just sitting at the port. They're not getting out.
15-year-old Zakaria Mahmoud lives in a tent in Lebanon with 8 family members.
I left Syria because there is killing there.
How long is that?
He's had unbearable pain for 3 years. Today, he is finally seeing a doctor, an American doctor.
We need to get a little bit of lab work on him.
32 doctors and nurses from the U.S. will treat more than 1,600 Syrian refugees over 5 days.
There are about 200 families who live in this makeshift camp, which is less than 2 miles from the Syrian border. And this is just one of hundreds of camps across Lebanon, which is now home to more than 1.5 million Syrian refugees. And they all need help.
Dr. Mufaddal Hamada has made 6 medical missions to Lebanon.
There's a lot of communicable diseases here, typhoid fever, skin diseases, scabies.
Conditions bleak, no running water, little infrastructure, families living in metal shipping containers.
How many people sleep in here?
5.
5 people sleep in here.
Right.
Wow, there's not a whole lot of room.
Right.
A life in limbo.
The saddest part of all is when you ask a kid, a 7 or 8-year-old kid, when do you want to be when you grow up? The most common answer is nothing.
A lost generation with little hope. Children fill up this hospital.
Most of these refugees can't afford medical care, but they're here today because these doctors are performing these surgeries for free.
He's waking up, we're done.
Patient after patient, more than 220 surgeries.
It's probably very difficult to see the suffering.
Oh, it's heart-wrenching. Frankly, you just gotta focus on the task at hand.
For the littlest patients, the recovery is sometimes painful and always scary. But today, it's a little easier because of these doctors and some ice cream. Tammy Leitner, NBC News, Lebanon.
The Continental Divide in Colorado, it's breathtaking, but these snow-capped peaks have a danger all their own. Avalanches that can bury anything and anyone in the way. And for those who get trapped in a mountain of snow,
Okay, Tuck, let's
this first responder may be their best hope.
girl.
Hunter Mortensen rescued Tally 9 years ago from an animal shelter. And now the Border Collie mix and other rescue dogs have been trained to make rescues themselves.
One dog can do the same amount of work as 30 trained professional rescuers in half the time.
The dogs from all over the country go through 2 seasons of intense training and get a refresher course every year.
Oh, good girl.
Avalanches are almost unheard of at ski resorts like Breckenridge. But just beyond that rope, out of bounds, you're at the mercy of Mother Nature, where those buried must be rescued within 20 minutes to survive. Walk me through what's going to happen.
I'm gonna bury you in there.
Literally.
Literally.
All right.
So yeah, you'll be about 5 feet under.
In a demonstration, I get a sense of the urgency.
We've got to find somebody.
Hopefully she comes soon.
Tammy got lost. We got to go find her. Are you ready? Ready, Tal? Let's go search.
To find me, Tally uses her nose.
find her.
It's thousands of times more
good
powerful
girl.
than a human's. Yay, Tally! Good job! Woohoo! But it's not all work for Hunter and Tally. Playtime has a purpose. It's a reward and also strengthens the bond between these partners.
The amazing thing that we ask of all these dogs is a complete trust in us, because we're taking them into scenarios and locations that no normal dog ever goes to or can even imagine.
When man's best friend becomes a trapped skier's best hope. Tammy Leitner, NBC News, Breckenridge, Colorado. A wall of water came rushing down here, carrying everything in its way, including this giant bus. Now, as you can see behind me, rescuers have been working around the clock, frantically searching for the hundreds that are still missing. This morning, a desperate search for the missing. As survivors of one of the worst natural disasters in Colombia's recent history struggle to hold out hope. We've lost a little baby, this woman says. A little baby. We can't find him anywhere. This man brought to tears looking at a list of dozens of missing children. I will not rest, says this grandmother, who hasn't seen her family since the disaster first struck. It happened early Saturday as the small city of Mocoa slept. A sudden heavy rainstorm causing 3 surrounding rivers to swell, sending a massive surge of floodwater, mud, and debris towards the town's 40,000 unsuspecting residents. The wall of water so powerful, entire neighborhoods washed away. Homes and bridges destroyed. The nation's president has declared a state of emergency, and Colombia's military is now scrambling to help. Many of the roads are still impassable, so the Colombian military is flying in supplies. They're bringing food, water, bedding. Right now, there is a rush to take care of the survivors, as well as search for those who are still missing. This weekend's catastrophic avalanche, a reminder that Colombia is prone to natural disasters. In 1985, nearly 25,000 people died when a volcano erupted, triggering massive mudslides. This man says he has nothing to eat, nowhere to sleep, and is wearing borrowed clothes. The level of devastation clearly written on the faces of those left to overcome this enormous tragedy. Locals tell us they buried about 100 people yesterday, but they're still holding out hope that more people will be found alive. Back to you guys. Dozens of police officers and their families rode out the hurricane in this room at the police department. And looking at the damage to this building, it's amazing that they all survived.
We've got the FEMA from the state up in the parking lot.
Mayor Margot Anderson is determined to rebuild her town.
An idea where we're going to have some light.
A power is probably going to be 2 months. I know.
The once charming Lynn Haven, Florida is now a tangled mess of splintered trees, mangled buildings, and shattered memories.
The floor was trying to lift up under us.
Mayor Anderson, the town's police officers, and their families didn't leave. Braving the storm's 155-mile-an-hour winds together, the building began to collapse around them.
One of the police officers and I looked at each other. He said, let's get them out of there. It was a miracle that we survived. It is unbelievable.
Just about every police officer in this small department lost their home that day, but they continue to show up for work.
You take an oath to the citizens of this city to protect them and to take care of them and to help them and to serve them. Their needs come before mine.
Today, hundreds waited in line, hoping FEMA will provide temporary housing.
Are you guys able to live in your house?
Until we get this FEMA stuff situated, we have no choice.
The town may have been torn to shreds, but the people here are survivors.
They're emotional, they're tired, they're beaten up, they're sad, they're distressed. We've been through a catastrophe, but they're strong.
Tammy Leitner, NBC News, Lynn Haven, Florida.
When you tap, what's going through your head?
I'm just trying to create music.
For 28-year-old Evan Ruggiero, life is a dance, one beat, one step at a time.
I started dancing when I was 5 years old. I just love the way that your feet could make these sounds. By age 10, I had auditioned for a professional tap company, and I got in. I guess you could say I was a young professional tap dancer.
Your dream was to perform on Broadway?
Yeah.
And then what happens?
It was my sophomore year at school, and I woke up with a pain in my right leg. And so just based off of the severity of pain that I was in, the doctor said that he wanted to operate right away. We don't wait for cancer.
The diagnosis? Osteosarcoma, a type of bone cancer.
7 months of surgeries, 9 surgeries later, my cancer came back. And the only thing left to do now was to amputate my right leg above the knee. I remembered a tap dancer way back in the day.
Well, I feel good and I'm knocking on wood.
His name was Clayton Pegleg Bates, and he lost his leg in a cotton gin accident at the age of 12, and His uncle made him a peg leg out of crutch tips, and he taught himself how to tap dance. I used that as the strength to carry on.
How do you go about teaching yourself to tap dance? Again, essentially with a peg leg.
I treated this as a new instrument on my body. I thought about the sounds of a time step, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Peg, hop, peg, flat, peg. Everything started to come back.
Are people surprised when you walk out on stage and they see that you only have one leg?
Yeah. It's always fun to kind of watch the audience react.
Do you think that you are the same dancer as you were before?
Oh, absolutely not. No, I think I dance now more for myself. There's so much negative that could have come out of a diagnosis of cancer and an amputation, and things could have gone down real fast. There were definitely dark days where I just thought, do I give up? Do I stop? Is this it?
And why didn't you?
Family, support of my friends, and my love of performing.
Do you ever feel sorry for yourself?
I get upset about everyday things, you know, and sometimes living in New York City is a lot. But I go on with each day as I would, you know, if I had two legs.
For Today, Tammy Leitner, New York.